Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight, we're on episode 280, and we're talking about keeping it fresh. And what kind of brought this topic forward was recently I got asked, and I've been asked multiple times, it's just I've been recently asked again, don't you get bored just camping all the time? And I got thinking about it, and of course, the knee-jerk reaction was, oh, it's more than just camping, we're bushcraft, we're going out there to be one with nature, blah, 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 all the stereotypical things that we have said on many a podcast in the past. But then I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, well, from an outsider looking in, maybe they don't understand really what we mean, because I get the same feeling, for instance, clothes shopping. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in and out. You know what I mean? That is not something that I overly enjoy. I don't hate it. I don't find it needs to take any longer than it needs. I can be in and out 15 minutes, have an entire year's worth of clothes. Now, somebody that enjoys shopping, of course, they'll like window shopping. 100%, window shopping makes zero sense to me. It's a completely irrational thing. If you're not going to buy it, why waste your time? But once again, coming like an outsider looking in, somebody could think the exact same thing about bushcrafting. Like, you're just going to the woods to sit in the same spot and look at the same trees. Why would you bother? And I thought it'd be an interesting topic just to kind of give it a quick once-over. Maybe this episode is less for our seasoned veterans of our woods extracurricular activities, maybe for the newcomers coming up looking to what's going to keep drawing them back, or maybe to either group to pass on to their friends that may be asking them the same question. Does that make kind of sense, Ben?
Sure thing, boss.
And I guess let's start with the stereotypical thing on this. It is more about going out to the woods to be in the woods. It's about the experience, and it doesn't really change a lot. The way I explain it to people is when you take your vacation to wherever, and in this instance I'm just going to pull Mexico because that happens to be a very common one around my area for people to go vacationing with, and everybody always comes back and says, oh, I should have stayed longer, oh, I can't wait to go next year, oh, I can't wait to go again. That's kind of the same feeling that I at least get about going to the woods. When you go to your vacation down there, it's because you can kind of just, push away the world's cares and relax and just enjoy yourself, which is exactly the same thing I'm doing, just a lot closer to home. You know what I mean? I'm going out there. I enjoy being in the trees. I enjoy the sound of wind rolling through a hardwood forest. Like, it's one of my favorite sounds on the planet. And I can literally sit in the woods all day and just listen to that on a nice breezy day in a trembling aspen stand. It's like picture perfect heaven to me. Only followed up by like a river rolling or the waterfalls or something like that. Like, I enjoy the sounds of nature. It is my happy place, and that's what keeps me going back out there. I don't care if it is the same waterfall, the same trees, the same area. It's the experience. It changes every time to me. I may see some new wildlife that I didn't see before. I may explore an area that I didn't look before. I may find some new fungus or something. Seeing Steve's joining us down there in the comments. Like, you never know what you're going to find. It may be the same area, but that's also not a bad thing simply because it's an area that's familiar to you. You'll feel a little bit more secure there. You may explore a little better. You know what to expect. What about you, Ben, before I continue on, because it looks like you've had a few things to say.
I just wanted to throw out there, you have a ton of people out there who are right into music. They'll listen to the same song over and over again every day. You know what I mean? Like, they have their favorite songs and they can listen to that. You have somebody who has their favorite book and they'll reread that book a dozen times. So, yeah, I mean, is walking the same trail, but every time you walk a trail, you see something different. You hear something different. If the weather is different, there's always differences. So it's never been the same for me. I've never done the same trip twice. You can't do it. I've tried. You can't have the same trip. You can have similar trips. You can cover the same ground, but even then, when you look around, you'll notice that it isn't the same. There's trees missing that were there before, that new trees have kind of grown up in areas that, trail may have gotten moved because of various reasons. There's always something to do with. Rivers change all the time. So every time you go to a river, it's never the same river. So that's sort of that there. The other thing, you said like window shopping. I think me and you do window shop though, but we window shop for things that are bushcraft.
It was a bad analogy for me, in all honesty, because I do a ton of window shopping from the computer. I must admit.
Yeah. But No, definitely. Like, first off, I don't think either of us have ever really been bored in the woods. And honestly, I would much prefer to go sit on the side of a lake locally and know in my own camping gear than to go down to a place where I have to stay in a hotel where I don't know how many people slept in the beds. I have to be out at a certain time. I have to follow the rules. I have to be dressed a certain way to eat. Like to me, that's more stressful than going into the woods. That's where I can sort of be myself, do my thing. It's the minimal stress. You know what I mean?
Let me put it this way. If you have not experienced this, there is something special about sitting beside the lake in your skivvies early in the morning because no one else is around and having the complete area to yourself to do what you want. Try and do that at poolside. See how long it lasts. You know what I mean?
You choose the right pool.
I was going to say, depending on the area, it may work out. Don't get me wrong. I realize this. But Steve makes a good point here from the comments, too. One thing is for sure, you never find anything unless you get out there and look. And that's the thing. Even though you're going to the same spots, I know a couple of the places I go got geocaches nearby. And I love checking them when I go through there just to see who's been in the area. Where have they been from? What have they changed out? It's just kind of a little bit of a treasure hunt. It's something fun to do in that specific areas that I go. Because I do have regular haunts. I do like getting to new places, absolutely, but we do have the regular areas that we go. One of which for me being, as no one is surprised here, is the waterfall. Myself, my family, we like to go there. Some of our pets are buried locally in that area because they used to come with us all the time. It's just a nice, familiar, fun area that changes every time we go. Now, excuse me. Now that we've said the stereotypical, oh, we go for the experience, let's go for some of the other things that kind of keep us busy while we're out there. Because, frankly, there is always generally a side project tucked in our back pockets. Very rarely do I go to the woods and say, I'm just going to go to the woods, make a fire, sit there, drink a cup of coffee, and read a book. I have intended to do that several times. But generally something always creeps into my backpack that I want to try out. And no surprise here, Ben and I have talked about this many times in the past. We will research. I'm not going to use the word fixate. I will say we will research meticulously about something. Perhaps we'll purchase it, and then of course that is just a reason to get out into the woods to try this. And it could be something as simple as a new fire starting method. I know recently, if anybody's been on the Facebook page there, I went to Princess Auto locally, which is just kind of like, it's supposed to be an auto shop, but they sell like everything. And it's a lot of good budget stuff, and I bought like $100 worth of budget. I have one of those too, and those were super overpriced when they originally came out. And I picked them up Princess Auto for like, what, $10 where they been? I know you got two there or something. So they weren't overly expensive. So I bought like all of this crap, and that's my reason for as if anybody hasn't noticed, the podcast is also coming on Tuesday night tonight, because planning to leave to go to the cabin, because of said $100 worth of stuff I bought from Princess Auto, I plan on making a whole bunch of reel videos. So this is my back pocket project for this outing. Yes, I still want to get to the cabin. I want to have a good time, relax, and chill a little bit. But my back pocket project is I'm going to shoot a bunch of reels for Atlantic Bushcraft here. Or if I happen to go into the waterfall, maybe I picked up a new saw or a new knife or a new ferro rod, maybe some new rope, maybe a new cook kit, maybe a new pillow. Like, it doesn't have to be much to be the reason to go out there and test it and see how it's going to work. I know you do the same, Ben. I know you'd be lying if you said you didn't.
I would be. I seen something in Princess Auto today I was trying to send you because it reminds me of a Jetboil knockoff for $35, but it's sold out in the area and it's sold out online. But the sale is good till like the rest of the week. So
send it to me and see if it's here locally. If it is, I'll pick it up. Send it out to you.
I think it's called the multi-fuel camping stove.
In any case, Princess Auto, they tend to have a lot of these real budget-friendly options, like that tube or that box you just seen Ben pick up. I researched that several years ago, and I know you and I have had the conversation on this, Ben, about that product specifically. And we looked into getting them, And I love the story behind it. I love the idea behind it. The problem was the cost of it at the time. We couldn't justify, or I couldn't justify, at least. I don't know where you sat on it, but I always wanted one. And then we stumbled across one of Princess Auto for $10. It's the
And then
mini
you posted
version.
on it, and my wife seen it, and we went, and she had to buy one.
That's how we
So,
ended up with one. We got the, I think they labeled it as a first aid or something like that. But I
yeah,
mean, if you look at the website, and I'll mention this in the video and stuff like that, if you look at their website, they make several different versions off it. There's one for like first aid, one for fire starting, one that's just a full survival kit. Like, it's a pretty neat product. I've already played with it a little bit and I have some initial opinions on it, but I'm going to save that for you folks out there. Like I said, I plan to shoot a whole bunch of videos. I'm going to try these reels. I've never understood them. I'm going to ask Steve some questions because I know he does a lot of reels. But I think that's the next thing I'm going to try and throw up here for Atlantic Bushcraft, because all these products, although being incredibly neat, none of them really deserve an entire video.
so yes, testing gear is definitely one of the things we do out there, but there's a few other things I wanted to kind of throw out there, and they combine together. Testing meals and different cooking methods, you know, like, and we can't leave out camp chores.
No, and that's the thing. That's part of the no-brainer for me. I enjoy the camp chores. Like, one of the biggest things I look forward to when I get out in the woods for me is making that fire. And that's not just making the fire and sitting around it. That's selecting the area, finding the firewood, processing the tinder, processing the kindling. Like, it's all a process. I enjoy it all from start to finish. There may be a challenge. Maybe it's a little damper weather than I originally expected, and now there's a new challenge of, oh, can I make a fire in the damp, or better yet, in the rain, using maybe flint and steel, maybe a ferro rod. Maybe I'll really push myself because I got there early and try a bow drill, because I know I'm probably going to have to fall back onto a lighter afterwards.
Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely stuff like that for sure. Like, we are constantly out there with that thing, and that's a big part of it. But it's by no means the end. There's so much that you do. Steve talks about like mushrooms and stuff like that, but any edibles, finding edibles and gathering them up and preparing them and stuff, that can take a fair bit of time. Finding the right campsite, and that's one of the reasons I really like the backcountry camping outside of the park. Because when you're at a park, you're set to a specific site. They set the pad, they set everything. But when you're exploring like Crown Land, as long as you leave no trace, you get to choose almost any spot you want.
Absolutely.
And that finding the perfect spot sometimes takes a lot more time than you would think.
Oh man, finding a new spot, like especially if you are doing the old dart throw is what I like to call it. You put the map up, throw a dart. Oh, I'm going to camp here. Doesn't necessarily have to be a dart, but you just kind of eyeball a spot that you want to camp. Finding that area to set up that initial camp, that can be quite the adventure on its own. I mean, going back to familiar places again, you know where you're going to set up. No adventure there, really. But if you're going in blind, sometimes it's like, if you're taking your hammocks, am I going to find trees they're right width apart? Am I going to have to take trees down? If you're taking a tent, am I going to have to clear land away, make it less rocky? Am I going to find an area big enough to set my tent? These are all things that work into it and bring a lot of the fun in just getting out there, honestly. Let's see. A couple things. Would love to see some videos. Look forward to it. Trying out stuff in the woods, either DIY or purchase, is a big part of fun and getting out there. All right, Steve. Yeah, I'm probably going to shoot you a message sometime tomorrow about the reels, bud. Just kind of give me an idiot's crash course on how to do it. Anyway, yeah, there's a ton of reason that we keep going out there. And it's not only the camp chores. Sometimes it's as fun as carving. Yeah, I can carve at home, but you know what? It makes a mess at home. I have carved at home. I've carved right in the living room at home with Melissa yelling at me about it. But I mean, out in the woods, right beside the fire pit, you just let the shavings go in. They burn themselves up. There's something nice about it. I enjoy smelling like smoke, in all honesty. From different facets of my life, I've always dealt with fires or something like that as a wildland firefighter, structure firefighter, just camping in general. I like the smell of smoke. I enjoy that wood smoke smell that kind of saturates you while you're out there. A lot of people hate it, and I understand that. But once you learn to envelop it and enjoy it, and you kind of saturate yourself with it, the bugs kind of stay down. I don't know. I find it very therapeutic.
Oh, it's like there's a level where it's just a lot better. And I know one thing, like my wife she loves the smell of smoke campfire, but it has to be clean campfire with good wood. It can't be like dirty campfire. There's a big difference, right?
Yep, and that's the thing. Like good, fresh, especially like spruce or pine or something like that. Oh, it's so nice. But yeah, so the things we do to keep us going back to the woods is one, it's just pleasant to do. It's our happy place, the same reason you folks go back to Mexico to enjoy your vacations. Two, we're not just going to do nothing. We have our camp chores. We know we're probably going to have to set up a fire, providing there's no fire bans or something on there. And if there is a fire ban in effect, that just means we have to figure out another way of cooking. So we may have to bring our butane stoves or our alcohol stoves or propane stoves or something like that because we can't have an open flame. That adds another little challenge into it. So if there is a fire ban, what are we going to do other than make a fire? Now we have to look at lighting. It adds another challenge to it. Doesn't matter. There's always new adventures every single time we go out, regardless if it's the same spot or not. Conditions change, just like Ben was saying. I don't know how much how much road has washed out from the rain that we got from that recent massive flash flood we had 3 days ago. Next time I go up there, everything could be different. The river has now swollen. It's going to be changing a little bit. Even though, yeah, there's small changes, there's still interesting changes. It's the same as when you drive through an old neighborhood in a city and everything has changed. You're like, oh my goodness, I can remember when? I have the exact same nostalgic thought pretty much every time I go down Barney's River to fish. I used to live down in that area, traveled it most of my young life. Now as I go as an adult, maybe once a year, it's like, holy moly, I remember when this river used to go this way and not this way. This used to be an 8-foot deep hole, and now it's like ankle deep. Or better yet, I used to be able to cross here without, like, just in my rubber boots, and now I wouldn't tackle it with a boat. Like, there's so many things change, and it's just interesting. It's how we choose to spend our time to enjoy the differences from time to time. You know what I mean?
Like I have a river that when I go back to Newfoundland, it's already been mentioned to from my family actually. They enjoy it so much that they want to go back and see that spot. So, there's some of the most beautiful spots in the world you'll ever find. There is no road to them. There might be a trail, or you may have to carve your own trail. There's a couple of spots I know that are off the beaten path. And I just stumbled upon them once, and I know people who go within a few hundred feet of them all the time and never once even know the beauty they're missing.
And that's the thing. I think as kids, and maybe I'm jumping way down a rabbit hole here and off into left field, and if I am, Ben, just stop me. But as kids, we have a natural curiosity to explore and look for the beauty in the world. As we grow up, life happens. Things get busy, we get families, we get jobs, we get bills, we have obligations. We forget to stop and smell the roses. And we've talked about this in a past episode, so I'm not going to beat that up too much. But with bushcrafting, it always seems like every time I go out, I'm capturing a small part of the way I used to feel when I was a kid, being adventurous and seeing new and exciting things. Once again, even going to these same spots, something is still new this time. And it, as corny as it sounds, makes you feel youthful. It makes you feel adventurous. It makes you feel good. It gets, there's something nice about sitting way off in the middle of the woods, breathing fresh, clean air coming in from the trees, not the exhaust of cars, and working on no clock, just the sun. So when it gets dark, it's time to shut things down. As the sun comes up, it's time to get up and start things. Because most people that have camped are going to tell you if you're out exposed at all, as the sun comes up and it starts beating on you, it's going to get real hot in your tent or under your tarp or wherever you are. It turns into a sauna fast. So you do generally tend to reset your internal clock. And I think we've talked about this in the past as well. So just the therapeutic nature of getting out there. I think that was the exact episode. The therapeutic nature of bushcrafting, if I'm not mistaken. Go back and check that out. That'll answer a lot of the common things that you're going to hear from most bushcrafters. When it comes to the actual what to do, There's always something we got playing around in the back pocket. You know what I mean? I've gone into the woods with no more than, hey, I'm going to try a different way of setting my pot up when I cook this time to see if I like it better. Because you can do it at home, and we recommend you try stuff at home. But there is a difference from trying something at home and seeing if it's functional when you're in the woods, especially if you're group camping. For the one I'm thinking of, I wanted to use a dovetail hang for a pot, and I was like, it works good at home over the fire pit out back. But now you have 5 people walking around this thing. If somebody bumps it, is it all going to go to snot? You know what I mean? There's no other place to test this stuff than kind of real world scenario. So we're always doing something. Ben makes sprites. There's still one terrifying me down at the water falls up in that tree.
Yeah, for sure. I do my carvings. I try to outdo myself every time I go for food. So I always try to take something new, try something that's a bit different. And those are my things that kind of make me happy. But I always have a few things stuck in my pack, either test or a book on something to do with bushcrafting, or how to identify a plant, or how to identify animals, or I want to just take photos. Honestly, if I have spare time, and this is something that I always say when I get back, I never had enough time to take the photos I wanted to do or take that video. But yeah, I love taking nature shots. And I think we've mentioned this in the past. If you left me alone with a camera and a few hours, I will make those hours disappear. And you'll come back and find dozens of pictures, probably the exact same thing with just different settings and different angles and all that. Just trying to capture that beauty. So if you really enjoy it, if you get out there and you learn to just enjoy being there, you will find more stuff to do than you can shake a stick at. Like, it appears it's so much that you can't do it all.
Oh, 100%. That's the thing. I always come back saying I didn't have enough time to do something. You know what I mean? I go out with a plan. I usually go out with one challenge, a couple things to test out, and then I just gonna relax a little bit. That usually all goes to hell. And I'll come back going, I didn't get to test half of what I wanted. My challenge failed immediately in the first day because I planned something completely different once I got there. And it's just the adventure. And you always find something to keep you going, as Ben was saying. If it's as simple as making that fire or taking some pictures. I've gone out, well, here's a prime example. Ben and I went out with the prime meaning to go shoot a bunch of videos. And we ended up shooting like 2 on the last day on her way out. In both instances. No, we did the hammock video. We did the hammock video on the first day at the lake. But that was it. We had the ideas of doing like 6 videos when we were out there. We got one, and then we got busy. In all honesty, we started trying stuff and looking around and exploring and problem solving some of the things. As simple as like, how do we keep all that extra turkey good till the next day? We built a fridge. Like, that's half the fun, is you get out there, find a problem, figure out how to solve it with what you got. And granted, there's going to be the odd problem where you're just like, I just can't do it without X.
Yeah.
But the majority of them, you'll be surprised at what you can figure out if you're just willing to put the time in. And that becomes a big part of the fun, at least in my mind.
Oh, 100%. Agreed.
I think that's really all I had to say on the topic here tonight. Like I said, it was just a question that I get. I don't want to say a lot, but it was frequent enough it got me thinking about it. And I always answer the same way as everybody else is, well, why do you always go out there? Because it's fun. And everybody's like, well, what can be so fun about going to the same place, doing the same thing? And that's what got me thinking about this topic here tonight. It may be the same place, but it's never the same thing. It's how broad do you want your scope to be? Because, yeah, you can literally go to the place, set a fire up, sit there, stare at the fire, go to sleep, wake up, make sure your fire's out, and go home.
If you want to look at it one way, how do you go to the same bar? How do you go, the same track? How do you go, what is your hobby or sport? Like, you play hockey, you go to the same arena with the same people and play the same game over and over again. It's not the same. Different things happen each time. Some people's skills change. uh, different, luck, things change. And that's exactly what it is with us too, right? We get out and things change and we learn something new every time. It is a new experience every time. Uh, what is the beauty of going to the same place is really learning that place and learning how it changes, how it evolves. And I did that short stint where we were doing some stuff with the search and rescue and tracking. And one of the things they teach you to do is like make a track and come back and check it in 5 minutes, and then in 10 minutes, and in 20 minutes, and then an hour, and then a week, and then a month, and then a year. And you'll find that same track and what changes in that. And eventually, when you come across a track, you can look at it and say, oh, that's about a day, or that's about a week, or that's about a year, based on, the debris and how it changes and how it forms. Campsites are the same thing. As you go, you'll start to realize where the food is, where the good swimming spots are, how the river reacts. If you're into fishing, where the fish are at different times of day, different times of year. So it's again never the same trip, but there's always something to do. You know, yeah, I could talk for hours about all the different things, but I think the big thing is, if you get out there and try it, you'll see. You'll understand that boredom is rarely the problem. And if you are bored, this might not be for you.
And I think that was my final thoughts on this too, is give it a college try and don't just say, hey, I'm just going to go out and be in the woods. That's part of the equation. Go out and say, hey, I'm going to go out in the woods. I'm going to enjoy being in the woods. Look for a reason to enjoy it. Find something that makes you happy. Set yourself a goal. Maybe set yourself a challenge. And bring something that you want to test or just something you want to try in the woods that you never thought about trying from home. It can be as simple as if you're musical, maybe bring your guitar. See if you like to play your guitar in the woods because it is an entire different, sound out there. Maybe it'll play along with stuff. I have a buddy that's exactly what they love to do. Bring their guitar out in the woods and play. I have a guitar hanging on the wall, but I'm never going to bring it to the woods. I can tell you that much because it's just too much bulk for me. I have other stuff I want to take. But the thing is, there is something for you to do out there. And if you give it a genuine try, and I do mean a genuine try, not a begrudging try, not a jaded try, like a genuine try, at least 3-4 times, you're probably going to find something that you enjoy with enough reason to keep bringing you back. Is that safe to say, Ben?
Yeah, and I think most times when each of us goes back, we sort of go through what we do and we say, I should have done it this way, or I should have tried this, or I wish I had brought this instead of that, right? And it comes down to sleeping bags, hammocks, stoves, all the gear. And we like, which would have been the better one for that trip? And of course, sometimes you take the other thing and realize that it might have been the better one for the previous trip, but this trip, you really wish you'd brought the other one.
And the only way you know is to get out there twice and try both. Honestly. And that's the thing. Maybe it's not for everybody. But for anybody with at least a little curiosity, doesn't mind a tiny bit of hardship, because I'm not going to lie to you, it's not all, sunshine and lollipops. But then again, neither is hotel staying, you know what I mean? Everything has its ups and downs. But just be genuine about it, give it a try, and I'm sure you'll have fun. That will keep bringing you back. And it may not be deep woods camping. Maybe it'll be campsite parking. Maybe it'll be day hike trails. Maybe it'll be doing long haul like the Appalachian Trail or something like that. You don't know until you try,
Oh, I'd love
like
to do that.
Steve said. What's that?
No. So I'd love to do the Appalachian trails.
I
Stuff
love
like
the
that.
idea of doing the Appalachian Trails. I wonder if I would survive the Appalachian Trail. I'd love to try. I would love to try, in all honesty. My mic's falling off. There we go. Yeah, that's kind of it for me for tonight. I just wanted to answer that question. Like I said, not the most interesting topic for those that already know why we're out there. But maybe this will help some of the folks that are fairly new to it and trying to find their reason. Or if nothing else, those of our brethren and sisters out there that have been getting tired of answering this question, if nothing else, point people towards this. If it makes sense to you, maybe it'll make sense to them.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on that, Ben? Or
Like I said before, I'll say it again. Get out there, have fun, try something new. Let us know how it goes. We'd love to hear about it.
All right, folks. Hopefully, we'll see you next week at Wednesday. I know 2 weeks in a row we've kind of bounced the dates, but I'm not giving up on going to that cabin. Anyway, see you next week, folks. Till next time. Night, all.